Love, Peace and Unity asked me what I think about the Kybalion, Neville Goddard, and our main man, Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't think about books like this, and I can tell you the exact moment when I stopped reading this kind of material, but before I do, I want to make it abundantly clear that I am on the side of people who have a genuine desire for spiritual awakening and holistic self-healing. I love that these kinds of books are getting more and more popular and more accessible. But there is an issue with this. My major issue with this kind of material is that we are not going far enough, and it's nothing to do with the books themselves. It's the way that we're reading them and the lack of action, the lack of psychological maturation that we're bringing forwards into the world as a result of this information. The exact moment when I stopped reading this kind of material was roughly the month when I went full-time with working one-to-one people in professional space, after a long period of reading hundreds of books to make sure that I was ethically, morally, and professionally ready to take on that responsibility. It's interesting because it's a pattern that I've noticed in different people that I've worked with. Initially, they might be interested in something like the Kybalion, which is Hermetic philosophy and really wonderful esoteric teachings for someone who resonates with that. When it actually comes to them professionalizing their spiritual impulse or their healing skill set for something which can actually give back. I see the same in the kinds of Dr. Joe Dispenza, Hay House Publishing books where people will consume this, and sure, maybe there's a healthy balance where you can read books like Dr. Joe Dispenza and you can make it about other people. But the very common trap is becoming a basic witch or a spiritual narcissist, if we want a psychological definition of what this means. I'm not trying to attack anyone in particular. I just don't think we're going far enough. Spiritual narcissism is a major trap that we've seen emerge in the last few years because it is truly enlivening to withdraw the energy from the world and withdraw our projections, focus on our healing, and start to put ourselves back together again. I am a huge supporter of trauma work and consistent meditative practice and all the Jungian archetypal transpersonal psychologies as well. That's what my whole channel's about. But the major limitation for anyone who has a genuine spiritual giftedness, a genuine capacity to bring forward something like a healing impulse because they've done it for themselves, is to not find a way to externalize that. How many times have you met someone who's got the crystal collection, they've got 5 different tarot decks, and they will tell you your natal chart inside out, and yet they have no money? They're difficult to talk to in difficult conversations, and they still have unhealed issues with their parents and former lovers. Are they really spiritually awakened, or have they floated into the spiritual bypass, head in the clouds kind of territory? And even worse, maybe their body's falling apart, maybe they're not actually looking after their physical vessel, which esoteric theory would say is the concretization of spirit. And they're reading more of these books without making it something which is earthy, and earthy in a sense which gives back. If you study any psychological maturation theories, and I'm talking all of the best psychologists of the 20th century, or any system of consciousness like Ken Wilber's integral theory, or spiral dynamics, or again the classic infant development, how does the brain work, how does morality develop in human beings? The defining moment of adulthood, in my personal belief, is when you realize it's not about you. Typically, for most people, this will be when they have children, and it flashes into their awareness that there's something greater than themselves. Sometimes for the first time, but at the very least, a very powerful experience that you have a responsibility for someone else. And this is something which maybe awakens in our 20s when we're in a work environment or a community of one form or another, and we perform in that space and give back. But that genuine awakening of the heart rarely happens for people until they've either had a major childbirthing kind of experience as the mother or the father, or they've had to significantly care for someone who's dying. Sometimes there's a spiritual awakening process which awakens this kind of impulse early, but very few people, in their 20s or even in their 30s will be able to move beyond the very helpful foundation of books like Neville Goddard and the Law of Attraction to understand that a genuine spiritual way of engaging in the world is to lift up your brothers and your sisters. No need to get new age. To be a good person who does things in the world which make it a tangibly better place. You can raise your consciousness to whatever degree you want, but the final levels of consciousness expansion, so to speak, always involve service. If you read a book like Born to Serve by Susan Trout, which I think I've got conveniently to my left-hand side. I do, right here. Born to Serve by Susan Trout, The Evolution of the Soul Through Service. She talks about the 7 stages of service, and stage 4 is the wounded healer, and stage 5 is the stage after the wounded healer, obviously. And it fundamentally rests on the difference between going from a healing narcissism, which can be healthy, but it does become unhealthy at a certain point of elongation beyond an appropriate time frame. For some people healing from massive trauma, and this might be someone who's watching this video, it's appropriate that it takes 5 years. But I invite you to have a vision to what might lie ahead. If you've learnt so much, and if you've raised your consciousness to such a degree that you truly are a spiritually awakened person of one degree or another, I would expect that you also have the physical, emotional, and mental consciousness cleared up in your system on a full spectrum scale to be able to be an example in a community and be a leader in a certain defined field of service. Otherwise, you're going into spiritual narcissism territory, potentially, and this is just a waste of talent and potential. These kinds of books that I was asked about tend to fall away in the first few years of reading because we realize that there's a certain moment where we must become the embodiment of a principle, and to get lost in basic witch rituals and being too obsessed about the full moon or the new moon or someone's astrology chart or human design or whatever Eastern philosophy becomes the flavor of the month is actually kind of juvenile. It's not to say that you're juvenile if you like these things. I like some of these things too in the appropriate context, but very rarely will someone be able to take this information or take that enthusiasm, withdraw it into their being, and then put it out in a way which is genuinely useful. There's a difference between digesting an ancient Hermetic system and bringing that philosophy into life through a career of service, and you feeling good because you just unlocked the secrets to the universe, and then you go back to the job that you resent, you have an argument with your partner, and you're still abusing yourself with cigarettes and alcohol. It's an oversimplification, but the spectrum itself is revealing. The reason that I don't like these kinds of books anymore is that I don't find them useful. They're not useful when working with people one-to-one, because the people that I work with these days are already brilliant, gifted people across the board, and they're primarily interested in externalizing that into the world where they know that they will develop at those higher bands of consciousness because they've been of service. Service is the through line of any genuine spiritual tradition. There is a certain tradition and many different versions of this where you go into the ashram or you go into the meditation center for an appropriate time-limited period of context. But it's not forever. It does end. It comes to a natural conclusion, and adulthood is realizing that we are embedded in social systems, and a truly healthy human at every level of their being will want to contribute to systems or maybe make a new system altogether, while also being aware of the history that stretches behind them and the future which tumbles forwards. Hopefully, this all lands in your heart. It's something which I try and live. It's the reason I've dedicated myself to a 500-episode question and answer series, which will take me 5 years at least to complete. It's the reason I'm willing to externalize my internal feeling of spiritual awakening, which really started to come on for me when I began meditating about 8 years ago, and then a variety of visionary experiences, a variety of spiritual expansions. And the rain's coming down heavy, maybe you can hear that. What's the point of me keeping all of that information in myself and having those mystical experiences if I'm not willing to be of service in the outer world? And that's what I've tried to do for at least the last 5 years of becoming obsessed about finding a way to bring back something which truly honors my soul and tries to honor every soul that I touch. And yourself in this moment watching this video, this is my field of service. I have defined it and I'm working in it. And that is the real spiritual awakening process, as far as I can tell, having read many wonderful esoteric, philosophical, and psychological books. Hermeticism isn't something to be disregarded. It doesn't resonate with me compared to something like Western theosophy, or maybe some of the more Christian mysticism kind of avenues of exploration, but for someone else, it might, and that's fine. But every high level of consciousness in different religious systems will ultimately come back to the true note of service. So if you want to go from basic witch, you want to evolve from basic witch into a genuine sorceress archetype, or you want to go from dabbling manic wizard into someone who's hopefully a more grounded magical force in the world, realize that there is a lot more to a male or female identity than these spiritual archetypes and spiritual impulses, and that the healing journey must externalize into a healthy contribution to the world. It's a very Alfred Adler style ideal. It's realizing that you have labor and you have gifts to bring forwards, and not locking yourself away in the cave. Sure, do it for a while. I think it's appropriate. But just beware when you're falling into that trap. Hopefully this video lands in your heart. Maybe a little bit harsh at times, but I am on your side, and I do believe that we can do so much more if we honor that high level of awareness and that feeling of charged importance which comes through in a spiritual state, and find a way to do the everyday, mundane, honestly often boring work of creating something earthy and tangible which gives back appropriate service to the appropriate people in the appropriate context for the appropriate period of time, which I personally believe should be many decades until the point that our body can no longer sustain us. But that's my mission. It doesn't need to be your mission. At the very least, I hope this helped. Next episode in the series, I'm sure this will also help, and I'll see you over there.